Good morning and welcome to the 17th episode of the hour-long series on health issues brought to you by IHL, Wellness in association with HEAL. I am Shankar Raj, President of New Delhi-based HEAL Foundation. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Today's topic for discussion is adolescence, a twilight zone of life marked by a rare form of let-loose freedom, rebellion, confusion, testing various aspects of life's adventures, crushes, experimentations, courting with danger, sometimes and heavily influenced by social media. We all went through this phase, but those were different times. Notably, there was no social media or television. Looking back, we feel how foolish or how adventurous we were. But then, many of these things went on to shape our thoughts, our lives too. To speak more on this topic, we have with us Ms. Gagandeep Kaur, Director of Unique Psychological Services, Delhi, and a clinical psychologist. And joining us would be Ms. Nazneen Hussain, Senior Dietitian and Founder, Freedom Wellness. Now, I'll start off with you, Ms. Gagandeep Kaur. From your experience, what are the major issues of adolescent population in India today?
Sir, the way you introduce the adolescence, I'd like to add one thing to it. Yes, it is a period of turbulence, but it is also the most exciting phase. If you and I look back, हमें अपने बचपन की यूथ की उतनी बातें याद ना हो जितनी adolescence में हमने जो पंगे किए थे उसकी बात याद हो. So I would rather see it also as an opportunity for excellent growth. Because today's youth, if I say adolescents per se, are way more smarter than we were. And I have no reservations in saying that. They are, even if they fool their parents, they're way more smarter. I wish we could learn a little from them, even if it means being more street smart. More than that, I think technology or Facebook or whatever, as you said, the media and the generations are different. अगर उसका एक negative influence रहा है, तो बहुत सारा positive भी रहा है. I have seen so many youth, specifically during the COVID times, and these young adolescent school-going kids who came up with a lot of mental health concerns or talking about teen issues. So I see it as a mixture of both. And for me, adolescence is actually a form of pure energy. If channelized, it becomes wonders. It's like that nuclear energy. Either you make a nuclear reactor out of it and you generate electricity, or you create a nuclear bomb. So that's how I like to see it. But yes, if we talk of the challenges today, one major challenge is how do they learn to balance relationships? That's a big thing. I have been in the last 1 month only, I've been to so many schools talking about sexuality education, and we have been realizing that grade 4, 5th, and I'm not joking, grade 4 and 5th, getting onto Instagram, putting their obscene pictures or getting too much into relationships and, friends with benefits at a school age, something that used to happen at the college or maybe later earlier. This is one major issue, I believe. Second, बहुत सारा exposure है, पर समझ में नहीं आ रहा है how do we direct it or use it for our advantage. So there are more distractions and the negative influence seems to be more. Third, I think the sense of self is depleting. So who I am and my worth depends upon the number of likes I get or how popular I am among my peers. Am I copying what they do? And aping the adulthood too early is very, very common. Exposure to vaping or these rave, the e-cigarettes and other things are so common, or the hookah pens in schools itself, which is a fashion trend, it seems, or a, mark of, we are adolescents, we are more modern. That's another thing. There is lack of reducing values because parents are occupied. They will always be. And as the time goes on, they'll be more and more occupied. So, हमारा जो nuclear है, वो ultra nuclear हो गया है. Now you have largely single parents or parents with no kids. So therefore, supervision is absent. I see a lot of adolescents yearning for love, warmth, क्योंकि वो घर से नहीं मिल रहा है. And definitely that brings us another thing to live in, and the internet crimes that happen, the kind of things that they get hooked on to are certainly some of the issues to sum up. But obviously, there are many more. Body image issues is very common in adolescents these days, how they look. So everything has been more externalized and very little reflection is happening on the soul or the kind of person they are.
Yes, you rightly said, that this is a bundle of energy. If properly channelized, probably it can be utilized well. And also, you rightly pointed out that this is a very exciting phase. Now, you touched upon relationship. Now, why is it that I remember in my earlier days, my parents used to advise me. We used to go by them. Either you become a doctor or an engineer. They used to all. But these days, nobody wants an advice from parents. They are independent by themselves. Well, fairly good. But you spoke about relationship that they get onto it very early. Why is that happening?
So as I said, there are two things that we are talking of. One, they don't want advice from parents when it comes to careers because for two reasons. One, there are so many newer careers that have come up the parents have no idea about. Earlier, we used to speak about that science, commerce and humanity careers. Now we don't talk along those lines. There are so many interdisciplinary things happening. So parents themselves are at a loss sometimes. So there is one, that reason. Secondly, a lot of exposure that has got into it, I think they are beginning. And since, as I said, that they're aping the adulthood. So they believe they are more smarter, they know everything. They don't need any advice from anyone else. That's another thing. When we talk of relationships, as I just mentioned, sir, we all are people who want love. We all have a strong need for belongingness. और ये कोई बाहर में कोई गोली नहीं आती कि खा लो and you feel so loved. I mean, it's a process. It's a process that is based on your value systems. It's a process that is nurtured based on the relationships you share with your parents, with your siblings. And I think वहां पर जो base है वो कहीं ना कहीं गड़बड़ हो रहा है. I have two kind of parents that often come with the adolescents, similar kind of relationship issues, but two common areas. There are one set of parents who would celebrate and would invite their children, ki, okay, let's drink, let's smoke together. My son or my daughter, both, even the daughters, they've entered into this adolescent stage and, they take it a pride ki mera beta mere saath kha raha hai, pee raha hai. Or even when they have relationships, I mean, just yesterday itself, there was another one of my clients. The girl is barely in 9th grade and she has a boyfriend. Mother says, I'm all right with it. And she booked the mother booked a hotel on the girl's birthday and the girl and her boyfriend were together there. So this is one extreme category of parents that I see. There are another set of parents who are themselves very, very in shock or say puzzled. यार बहुत सारे generation में change हो रहा है आजकल बच्चों के लिए या values or having stability or that trust, loyalty, commitment, investment हो ही नहीं रहा है. वो big basket sale इतना common हो रहा है कि people hip hop. So they get too controlling at times, too nasty, have multiple over checks. तो उस चक्कर में बच्चे दोनों ही साइड डेविएंट हो जाते हैं.
Yeah. Now you spoke about all these things, extreme parents being extreme this side and parents being a bit conservative that side. Now, do you see in your practice whether there is a urban-rural divide? Do you think that these problems are also in rural areas?
I think they're coming up in more rural areas too. ऐसा नहीं है कि वहाँ नहीं है. It's just that the quality is different. See, like in the modern, so the urban areas, if I say, छूट ज्यादा है, फ्रीडम ज्यादा है, रिसोर्सेज ज्यादा है, नजर कम. रूरल एरियाज में रिसोर्सेज उतने नहीं हैं. तो जितने के पास हैं फेसबुक इंस्टाग्राम पर हैविंग मल्टीपल अफेयर्स और पुटिंग अप द पिक्चर्स और इवन हैविंग रिलेशनशिप विद एल्डर बॉयज और गर्ल्स आइदर ऑफ द वेज इज सो डैम कॉमन. तो जिसको जहां पे जो स्कोप मिलता है वो वहां कर रहा है.
So earlier you spoke about nuclear energy, how it is, this youth is about like nuclear energy. You also spoke widely about, correctly about channelizing them. So how do you think that this can be channelized? Because this is a very volatile sort of a group. So how do you think it can be channelized?
I think we need to change our approach, the way we deal with them. See, when we were adolescent, our parents were more authoritative or more disciplinary in the sense ये करना है, ये नहीं करना है. They were very clear do's and don'ts. ज़्यादा हम चूचू करते थे तो हमें बोल दिया जाता था भाई हमारा घर है, रहना है तो रहो, नहीं तो निकलो types. That approach will not work anymore with this kind of a generation. I think this youth, you'll have to treat them, or this adolescent, you'll have to treat them like adults. You cannot impose things on them. You'll have to be more discussing things with them, helping them aware of the pros and cons of the choices that they take. Yes, you'll have to keep an eye, but it has to be a very smart blend of being a friend and a parent. You cannot be a complete friend. The boundaries have to be there. And you cannot just be a parent at that point. This is one. Second, yes, you can, ye bhi hota hai, like other children have exposure to all kinds of things. They're playing all kinds of games. They are celebrating their birthdays and clubs and all. Your children will say, why can't we do it if the other parents are allowing? So you can't completely cut them off from everything, but you'll have to give them, if any freedom that you give them, it has to come with a sense of responsibility. Third, hold your adolescent responsible for their errors in life. Don't try and remove all their errors. When they do something wrong, just don't cover up everything. Let them hold them accountable for it. It's a generation who likes to be held accountable. Fourth, give them some responsibilities right from the early age itself. Fifth, very, very important, I think, which is really, really missing and it's becoming less and less common these days, which is communication. बात करो यार. और आपको कभी-कभी उनके फ्रेंड के रूप में अलग नाम से छुपकर उनके फेसबुक इंस्टा पे जाना होगा बच्चे को बताकर, but you can't comment there. You'll have to be, sometimes you'll have to act like a very cool parent across. But yes, your parental instincts will still be high up. But I think that dialogue, a sense of respect, giving them ownership. Also, as I said, channelizing the energies. तो हर बच्चे का potential ढूंढो. अलग-अलग hobbies, extracurricular activities में जरूर डालो. The exposure that they have on net or the phone and the television has to be regulated. The kind of content they see on the Netflix is what they copy. And if I'm sure you would have seen one of the latest series, which is so popular among adolescents, it's all about, it's very different. I mean, it doesn't add any value. It only takes you more deviant. So you'll have to keep a check. And also if they're watching it, discuss about it. Generally have discussions about it. You'll have to help them develop a critical head. I think that's the best that you can do.
Now you spoke about disciplining students and youngsters. Now, as you rightly said, our parents were very strict when we were young. Our teachers were extremely strict. They used to whack, give us a whack if we went wrong somewhere. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we really respected them. We never had any grudge against them because they shaped our lives. But these days, you cannot touch a student. You cannot hit a student. You cannot shout at a student. If something happens, it's all over social media and the poor teachers and others who actually try to bring them to a discipline, all well-intentioned. So how do you think that discipline process is going to take place in this particular generation?
Sir, I would never approve of any kind of corporal punishment or whacking at any point. Unless it is an extreme situation that is one of the last and the lastest things that rarely ever is required. I think the entire issue is because there is a lack of respect. For us, we would see teachers as not people who are being paid by the school and therefore that is their job to teach us. No, I think that entire perspective was different. For us, they were like a gurus who are here from where we are seekers. We used to value that. But today, if you ask children, be it school or the college people, they'll say, ठीक है, आपको पैसे मिल रहा है, हम पढ़ाओ और जाओ. ये हमारी ऊपर है, हमें पढ़ना है कि नहीं करना है. So I think that sense of, that attitude is something that is at a loss. But also in these days, I have seen those teachers who are more communicative, who, treat adolescents as adults or, at their level and are more, give them that sense of responsibility. With them, the children, share a better relationship. उनकी क्लास में पंगे नहीं लेते बच्चे. तो जो टीचर बच्चों को थोड़ा leverage भी देता है and is not only talking about this is what I want, but also gives a listening ear. Okay, तुम क्या चाहते हो? Okay, let's have a bargain. Let's have a middle way out. Suppose you don't want to study today. All right, then this is the assignment. If you agree to do it at home, okay, we'll have one fun period here today. Something like this, a combo that works on some degree of flexibility, openness to communication. Wahan children are more respectful and they're more willing to work. So these days, you just can't make a child stand in the class and pinpoint and say something nasty. Even when the child is doing something nasty, those teachers who remain quiet at that point, change the topic or tell, or just stand next to the child's table so that he doesn't make a ruckus and later call that child and very politely speak to that individual कि देख यार हमने भी मस्ती करी थी, चलता है, मस्ती के दिन है, but do you see where you're falling or this is what it is leading to? So if I catch a love letter in the class and I don't make a ruckus about it, but I help my child understand as a teacher, here, the kind of a boyfriend or a girlfriend that you're looking at, what are the characteristics that they carry? Do you think that this particular boy or girl has it? Relationships are about growth. If you want to work it, learn to strike that balance. Ensure these things don't go off the toss. So those kinds of dialogues and communication sets in that sense of discipline. And as I said, giving them ownership for their own actions, that self-responsibility makes a huge difference. Sir.
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Ms. Nazneen has just joined us. Welcome, Ms. Nazneen.
Thank you so much.
How are you? All fine?
I'm very well. Thank you so much, Mr. Shankar.
Glad to have both of you on our panel. We're already familiar faces these days. Now, Ms. Nazneen, we are just discussing, and Mr. Gagandeep Kaur also raised certain vital issues, vital points on adolescence. She said it's, of course, a very, very positive, it can be positive also. It's a bundle of energy, which is quite unique, very different from the days that we went through. But my question to you is, most adolescents lack three things. One is healthy food. Second is sunshine. And third is quality sleep.
Yes.
So what's the solution?
So I think you've just nailed the most important points. And I was just hearing Doctor also speak earlier. So one, this entire generation, we today call them as Gen Z, don't eat regular meals. They are now getting into this whole act of just snacking. And I think snacking is the way to go, So they're majorly absent at all family meals because they've eaten something and they want smaller meals, something which is essentially high fat, high sugar, high salt. And that is becoming a huge challenge for this generation. Sleeping at night, and I was just hearing Doctor also speak, this Netflix culture seems to be seeping in so much that today, most of the adolescents, even when we look at colleges and, class 9th, 10th, the weight seems to be seeping up precisely for these reasons that when we look at the hormones, the maximum hormones, the growth hormones, the leptin, ghrelin, are all regulated between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. And that's the time when these young adolescents are actually busy watching TV or surfing on the net. And then they're sleeping through the day, wherein, brings to the third point that they're actually missing out on the entire sunlight. They don't see daylight actually most days because they're rising up only at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. They missed out on a major meal. And there is a regular weight gain which starts to happen. So I think all these three things, three questions, all put together, all tightly connected to each other are something which is a huge concern for us, because when people come, when these young adolescents come to us, counseling becomes to you're first actually not beginning with the nutrition, you're beginning with sleep. And once the sleep gets regularized, then I know that this person is going to get up early morning and eat, go for an exercise or eat a breakfast. So I think as a nutritionist, I deal with sleep first.
That's very, very important.
Yeah.
But something that I would like to raise an issue over here is that you said that, rightly said that they generally do not share a meal with parents or on the dining. It's very difficult for anyone to bring them onto the dining table and have food together. I remember those in my days and all, when my parents used to sit for dining, it was mandatory that we come and sit with them and eat with them. But today, even when we go on a visit to some houses and ask, where is your children? Oh, they will eat later, or they already eaten. But rarely do you you find them on a dining table together. How is it that we can bring them onto this dining table? What is the magic that we can do?
So actually, I have been doing a lot of work on this, honestly. And, even like, I think sometimes whilst we've managed to keep the Indian traditions, we've not managed to kind of, make them wow for these younger adolescents. Like next year, we're celebrating 2023, we're celebrating Year of Millets. Okay, millets essentially was a very traditional food, but, it doesn't seem to interest them at all. But if this family meal, instead of having a ragi roti, would have, a ragi wrap, and it's the same concept, and you're stuffing it. And then when the adolescent asks the mom, what's for lunch? And she says, okay, today we have a ragi wrap with some dip. And it essentially comes up to the same thing. It's just tweaking the meal a little. It, draws the adolescent a little back into the system. So I think the effort needs to be made both ways, both from the parents, grandparents, and this. Normally what happens is meal time becomes a lecturing time. And so this person says, "Arey, bahut hai, chhod do, khao hi mat." You're not spending that for 20 minutes at lunch and 20 minutes at dinner. Let's just skip that, So I think it needs more work from both ends.
Yeah, that's quite correct. In fact, my son is quite grown up, but when we sit together on the table, I generally attract him by saying, "Do you think this is particularly nutritious? Should I eat it? And what's your take on this particular milk? Or do you think millet is good?" And then he answers, so he knows that he's involved in the process.
Yeah,
So he's there on the table. But what's your take, Dr. Gagandeep, about this? How do you bring these kids onto the table?
As very rightly said, there are two simple things. One, there are some rules, and there have to be some ground rules. You cannot have any system working without some rules. So there is a rule कि भाई खाना तो टेबल पे ही मिलेगा, और ये अगर बाहर से खा के आ रहे हैं तो पैसे कौन दे रहा है? As parents, we are only giving them that money, no? So you cannot be giving everything and then questioning. I think that's one rule. Secondly, at least I understand that they need their personal space and all right, but at least one meal has to be together, which is the night meal. Second, it cannot be a topic about how you're, lecturing about school mein kya chal raha hai, friend ke sath kya ho raha hai, acha school se aaya. That should not be there. That should be the time where we are either putting some comedy up, or we are talking in general, or we are sharing some happy moments, or we are just sharing a general day or conversation. It should be the point. See, children these days are very smart, specifically adolescents. And as parents, हम सबको पता होता है किसका कहाँ crush चल रहा है, whatever, and blah, blah, blah. But instead of, putting it as a question mark or a complaint, if you, tease them a bit, or, or generate, or even talk about your life. When I was young of your age, when I had a major crush on so-and-so person. Chalo, I'll tell you a little about my love story. Fake it up a little bit. Yeah, who knows? They don't know what your childhood was. But that's a way of getting them talking. So you'll have to make that mealtime interesting with no phones on the table. Definitely. No television at that point, no matter what. Otherwise, you're not talking. Yeah. I think these are two things that have to be there. And even when we're talking of no sleep, as you said, यार internet उनको दे कौन रहा है रात में यार? क्यों नहीं उनका iPad फोन लिया जा रहा है? हम कोई रूल बनाते ही नहीं है. As parents मुझे लगता है हमें भी चाहिए भैया, सर दर्द नहीं चाहिए. अब ये नहीं सुन रहा बच्चा तो ले यार, तू फोन ले, दफा भाई मुझे सोने दे. I have an office tomorrow morning. And there is no gain without pain, I believe. So if you've given birth to children, you better be ready to bear some tantrums and set some rules. And क्या है, ना की तो बना रहा है, मुँह तो चढ़ा रहा है, ना खाए. दूसरा ज्यादा ममता वाला मन मत लाओ. I think माँ बर्बाद कर देती हैं अपने बच्चों को. With due respect to all the mothers out there, भाई मेरे बच्चे ने नहीं खाया ना खाए यार. वो tantrum फेंक रहा है. Chill, no. एक मील नहीं खाएगा, सुबह तो खाएगा ही. But if that child throws a tantrum and you give him whatever he wants, why the hell will he listen, yeah? Or she listen for that matter. I think you have to be a little firm at certain places.
So this is a continuation with what doctor was saying, and I was just having a conversation right now. I just got kind of late. Is that there are some of these hostel kids who are adolescents which are there, and the parents used to give them this money to prescribe some home meals. Okay. But they have gone and merrily spent that money over whatever, drinking with friends or partying out, and they don't have meals. So ineffectively, they are junking. So now mothers have become a little more smarter, and they're saying that, okay, we are going to pay up for these meals directly and prescribe for it and not give you the money in the hand. So I think that, like doctor said, that we need to go that extra mile to kind of, enforce these rules so that nutrition and also lifestyle becomes, into the system.
Yeah, and as Dr. Kaur raised the issue of mobile phones, but the biggest culprit are our parents themselves. They come to the table with mobile phones and start looking at it when the father would be working on it and the child will be, merrily in his own world. But banning, cell phones on dining table, I think is a good idea. And also discussing things. But Ms. Nasin, I'd like to ask you, how about discussing food on the table? Will that attract youngsters?
In a more positive way, yes. Like you ask them that, okay, what did you eat out with your friends? So, and they say, okay, I had like a enchilada with cheese. And then the mom can say, okay, I could also make this. Would you like to try it at home? So I think that kind of a positive conversation is a good thing. But if you say that your food habits are really bad and you are not eating this, or roti khana band kar diya or dal khana band kar diya, I think then it's all going in a very, very negative format. So, like, I think that's what I said, that both the parties have to work, that if a mom knows that he is not having dal, then maybe, you serve the dal in another format. So instead of just giving a dal, if I make like something like a pesar or two, which is a moong dal based thing, then it's far more easier. If I'm making a bean taco or a stuffed roti with beans, then that's more fun. So I think that you need to tweak it a little and have more positive conversations.
Will involving children in cooking, gently asking them or prodding them. Yeah, as you say, Beta, today probably if you help me in cooking, it'll be easier for me, like what you ate last night or what you ate in the afternoon with your friends. Why don't you cook it for me? So will that process involve the child in the process of having food together?
I think that's a great idea, like you said, Mr. Shankar, because that actually gets them more involved with the mom and people at home also. He begins to cook, he begins to start helping with the kitchen. They are more involved, they understand how things are, and they start appreciating home food better then. So
what's your take, Dr. Kaur?
I think, sir, those who enjoy cooking would do that. If I was a kid and my mother would have said, "ऐसे मैं रोटी bread खा लूंगी और मुझे cooking नहीं करनी है," I would not have done that. But yes, certainly, I think another thing that we could do is, like there's another parent who was the other day here and he said, "यार हम क्या करें, Swiggy से order कर लेते हैं, Zomato का bill इतना आता है." तो I said, "यार Zomato वाले को 2 बार तुम नहीं पे करो, क्या होगा? बंदा गाली देके जाएगा तुमको, पर दोबारा यहाँ नहीं आएगा." मतलब you cannot be too conscious of your social image. यार उन्होंने मंगा लिया, अब हम पैसे नहीं देंगे तो कैसे चलेगा? That is one thing that you'll have to put a check on. And yes, certainly, these fashion statements are very popular among children. It's also how you put it across, oh, this diet puts you really slim. This brings, that color on your skin. I mean, because since the entire focus is on their appearance these days, so if you associate food with beauty to some degree, I think also can be a little engaging.
Yeah.
What about boys?
Boys, don't they use makeup? Don't they like parlor? Come on, sir. They do it more than girls these days. They are equally conscious.
Body image is a very important concept.
Yes.
And today, actually, like the way we see, there are 2 types, and I also deal with a lot of athletes. And so there are these young adolescents who've actually taken up a sport, and they've gone like completely into the fitness and the health angle, and they follow the diet till the T. Sometimes you have to tell them it's okay, you can relax a little. So I think there are 2 different worlds out there. One who are like completely junking, snacking, going the other way. There is another population which is extremely conscious on the way they look. They want to look good, they want to look fit, and I think that they do really well. Yeah.
That's right. I say, as you said, the generations, the divide is quite huge, either this way or that way.
Yeah.
But the problem is to bring that way people to this way. That's the biggest issue that we have.
Yes.
We will come back after a short break. We'll have a small video in between on wellness, and I would request the admin to play the video as early as possible. Pavitra? I think my admin is a teenager, probably. Yeah. You suddenly become body conscious when you're a teen and you have a lot of developments which you are not, of course, ready for or you didn't expect. Now, adolescents also have a problem of, being obese or being extra thin, and there's a lot of body shaming also happening across. So how do you deal with such, how can adolescents deal with such a situation?
I think one of the things is that, when the body when you reach your adolescence and hitting puberty, the body changes are very drastic. Before you know it, it's done. It's not a very gradual thing. And accepting those changes sometimes can be very, very painful, especially if they are related to, in terms of weight, if they are related to appearances, change of appearances. And it does take them some time to actually get used to the new way they look, and I think preparing these adolescents is very important. This will happen. You would put on a little weight, you will have a little weight on your breast now, or you will feel a little, you will get taller, or you will not get taller, or you will, have these spurts of growth at this point in time. And, or you might have acne, which is very normal and it can be treated. There's no problem. But you know what, as even families I've seen, I don't know what he does. I've told him not to have spicy food, this food, that food, but yet he does it, and he has acne, or she has acne on her face right now. So we are not talking anything about body positive, but we are talking in a way which is making them even more and more conscious about their appearances. One, that they are conscious about their appearance, but the conversation at home, school, peers is all about what has changed in your appearance. And I think that is a big, big burden. And if we are prepared as a family, prepared as a class, it's much easier for everyone. But I think that preparation doesn't happen. I don't even think that many schools have, sexuality education in their curriculums, but boys are put separately, girls are put separately, and they are told not to have sex. That's like the aim. But nobody is addressing, unless they are coming to sessions to a psychologist one-on-one. Some parents are very, very, open about, they read, they explore, but a lot of young adults do not know what's coming up next for them, how to deal with it, what is the change. And if we have those prep stages very well, I don't think they will be feeling so much of it as they feel it right now. I've also seen a lot of young adults who have gone, searching on the internet. And once they see that, there are other people like me who don't know too much about their orientation, or they don't know what is going on with their body, they feel very, very supported at that time. So, there are some young adults who will go back and, search the internet of what problems they feel and resonate with something. But that can misfire as well. So if we have a, reliable source that gives them that support, or a support system through this, that's way, way more better.
Welcome back. Ms. Kaur, we discussed things about social media earlier. So what do you think is the positive and the negative aspect of social media on adolescents?
The positive effect is what I like to first talk about is definitely you have exposure to so much positive information around. Access to great work that people are doing, and so many stories you come across that can be absolutely inspiring and motivating. They can even give you some sense of direction. There are so many tips that are available when you're struggling with something, provided you click onto the right source. I think then it really, really works well. I have seen a lot of children connecting online with each other on these social media sites, coming together for a cause and really making a difference. Like there are some children, there's some school children who are running a program where I'm a part of, where they try to deal with the waste food. the food that is left over, they collect it from their families and nearby places. They have made one community center, and every Sunday they go and distribute it. There's another, they work for the dogs nearby. So aisa nahi hai, some of them are doing a great job. There are yet others who talk about teen issues, talking about things, making them aware or having a conversation, and then they show these videos to their parents because they believe ki samne to baat ho nahi pa rahi hai. This is another medium to put their thoughts across. And then they wait for a reaction from them, which is a very good thing. But when I talk of the negative aspects, yeah, everything that is shown is not true. There's something known as a positive, toxicity, where the media sometimes projects too perfect pictures. Sabki life badi happening hai, badi bindas hai, jo online बैठे हुए हैं, DPs ले लो, उनके Insta handles ले लो, खुदा ने पता नहीं क्या special magic इनके ऊपर डाला हुआ है. But that is not true. We all go through our all shades of it. It's just that media projects a certain image, and that disilludes a lot of children. So unko lagta hai they are the only messed up people. The others are so sorted. Second, when you look at the social media talks about so much success, and they project as if overnight aa gaya. Ye YouTuber, overnight itne kamane lag gaya, ya, gamer aisa ho gaya. That's not true, They skip the hard part of it a lot of times. So bachchon ko lagta hai kya ye to shortcut hai yaar life mein. That is another concern, I think, that happens. Third, as I said, social media में अगर positive चीजें हैं तो गंद भी बहुत सारा है. So the access to something that should not even be seen at a certain age, the pornography or the kind of content and the conversations people do and even the negative groups that work. And they do it for their advantage. Bhai. Unko aise hi kamana hai, bhai. How will they sell their products if they'll not? I'll give you one very simple example. There's one boy, young boy, shaadi hone ja rahi hai uski, and he was on social media and he's somewhere on some, I will not name that Insta handle. He said, मैंने वहाँ पढ़ा था that a man should be able to get intimate with his wife every day. Otherwise, he is not good enough. The woman will leave him. And that evoked so much performance anxiety in him. And then they were about the size and erections, whatever, details on it. And he called me up saying, ki, ma'am, I thought all is well between me and my girlfriend, but now I want to do it every day to prove it, but I can't do it. I said, be human, get back. You can't do it every day. It's not a switch on and off. I mean, it's not just an act. So a lot of confusions are created at the same point. That is another, I think, angle that creates problems.
Yeah. Now I'll come to another major issue that's happening is, we have what's called the substance abuse. Schools and college students are either users or carriers. The government of India and the state governments have launched a war against drugs, but the menace still continues, especially in states like Punjab and Kerala, where it is quite rampant and sometimes very fearful. There was a recent report where a 13-year-old girl was both a user and a carrier, and she made a lot of money in that way. So what do you think can be done in this regard?
Shortcut पैसा बनाने का तरीका है पहली चीज तो. Second, as I just said, sir, सबको क्या चाहिए? Popularity चाहिए. Secondly, मेरे को वो ड्रग जो बच्चा अब्यूज कर रहा है ना, I feel sorry for that fellow, because वो बच्चा अपनी आइडेंटिटी ढूंढ रहा है, वो कहीं ना कहीं से एक्सेप्टेंस ढूंढ रहा है जो उसे फैमिली से नहीं मिल रही है या नियर डियर वन से नहीं मिल रही है, जो उसके अंदर का खालीपन है, सैडनेस है, होपलेसनेस है, उसको भरने की कोशिश कर रहा है. ड्रग्स आर ऑफन एन एस्केप from the life issues. Who knows how many of us know, and I mean, have gone into their families, and most often that I've seen where parents are quarreling, or either the parent is infidel or there is nonsense happening around, there is no value system. कोई basic, मतलब they are not healthy homes. तो जो pathological homes से बच्चे आते हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं सोलेज ढूंढते हैं. उनको लगता है यार सब तो बकवास है लाइफ में, तो चलो यार 2 सुट्टा मारो, let's have fun, to hell with it. अब सुट्टे मारने के लिए पैसे चाहिए तो क्या करो, कैरियर भी बन जाओ, थोड़ा ड्रग डीलिंग कर लो, क्या अपने को तो फ्री का ड्रग मिल जाता है. एंड इट्स सो डैम इजी, इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल नेटवर्क दैट वर्क्स. आपको और हमें पता भी नहीं लगता है क्या हो रहा है. और पेरेंटल चेक्स तो है ही नहीं, कम्युनिकेशन कहाँ है भाई. पेरेंट्स आर सो ब्लडी मेस्ड अप इन देयर ओन लाइव्स. एंड समटाइम्स आई बिलीव, आई मे साउंड वेरी वेरी स्नॉबिश हियर, बट आई थिंक कभी कभी ना एक पासिंग सर्टिफिकेट होना चाहिए दैट एवरी पेरेंट शुड attain before they decide to give birth to a child, because we end up messing so many lives around.
Quite right. Now, Ms. Nazneen, what are the major dietary concerns of the adolescent population?
So some of the major concerns what we see is, two things. One is excess weight gain. The other one is also going on this completely, fat diets and not eating anything at all. So this whole problem of anorexia is a very, very high concern, especially among girls, wherein they think that whatever they are eating is going to make them fat. In fact, I'd like to share one story of my patient, that this girl, somewhere she came from a middle class family. She heard this conversation amongst her parents that they had some financial crisis. She just overheard, and then she just wouldn't eat at home. Every time they would ask her at home, did you eat? So she said, no, I've eaten with my friends. And with friends, she would say, I've eaten at home and come. So either which ways, and she was just dropping weight. She had become almost around 39 kgs, which was a huge concern. Her BMI was now almost around 14, 15, scary. And with a lot of help from my psychologist friend and me, we kept going back and forth, finally to realize that one fine day she broke down and said that, I heard this conversation amongst my parents, and not eating is my way of saving some money in the family. So there may be sometimes dysfunctional families, but also adolescents have their own fears. So that's something which they don't eat at all. Others don't eat because of just wanting to remain slim and fitting in that being size 0. So calcium, iron, these are major concerns. These nutrients really go down. Also vital nutrients like zinc, selenium, which are very important also for mental health, these also become missing. Sheer lack of sleep and not getting enough sunlight is vitamin D. Today we know vitamin D is directly related to gut health, to mental health, and all of them are completely correlated with each other. And other very, very constant complaint I see is constipation. This is mostly because of the refined foods that they are eating, not enough fiber, and that again triggers this whole process of hormonal imbalance, a lot of acne. So you're kind of going into a round and round circle without breaking it. So I think all these hair loss, be it underweight or overweight, are huge issues in these. Alopecia is a very big issue. Dandruff is a very big issue. So all of them become very, very challenging issues. For girls and boys who are overweight, they just, especially from the last 2 years of COVID, I've realized that because they've gained so much weight, they don't want to appear in person anywhere. They are just avoiding, all the meets, and, on Instagrams, they're using filters just to look good. Okay, so a lot of filters, etc. are used, but they are actually scared that if people see them the way they actually look, they may be completely rejected. So these are some of the major nutritional concerns as well.
You spoke about body image. Now, body image issues related to social media are also a growing concern. Teenagers are obsessed with being thinner and always in search of external validation. So what do you think should be done?
Work on the self. Did you ask me or you asked her?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that, the first lessons, while schools do so much to kind of, teach everything external, they forget to teach that you need to love yourself. You need to love your own body. You need to find that little solace amongst yourself. So I think formal education teaches you a lot, but forgets to address these basic things. Nutritionally, I think that's a constant work. It has to be a team of parents, school, colleges, young adolescents, all trying to work together towards, making this whole environment conducive. Like there are young teenagers who have now come to me, they've taken a diet. Now when they're stepping out with their friends and they're going to a vada pav shop, they're like, "Arey, ye to diet follow kar raha hai." He's actually ridiculed. So the social system is not supporting. He's like, ये तो diet follow कर रहा है, ये तो कुछ खाएगा नहीं, इसका नाटक बहुत है. So I think, we need to, a lot of work needs to be done in terms of behavioral modification at a mass level, so that people understand that health today is very, very important. And, for those who are even wanting to follow a diet, they shouldn't be punished. So, and otherwise, also and this, I work very closely with the FSSAI also. It's an FSSAI movement as well, that we're now looking at different schools, different colleges, to at least make it an Eat Right campus. Okay, and ensure that at least 80% of the food served in the school, high school, or the college campuses are healthy. 20%, you don't want to be all completely perfect, but 20% leeway can be given. But this is also an initiative which we are driving pan-India.
Fine. Dr. Gagandeep, I'll just come back to you, Ms. Nazneen. Dr. Gagandeep, sometimes what happens is anger is a major issue among adolescents. Parents are generally a bit scared to address this because they get violent, they get angry pretty fast. So how do you address anger issues among the adolescent population?
Sir, I would say badi kaam ka hota hai anger. No emotion is bad. Because when they are getting angry, rule 1, the parents are advised to not start a communication at that point, because wo unko aur anger karega, it's only going to escalate. Second, when the child is a little calmer, speak to them. Yaar, tere ko gussa kyun aa raha hai bhai? Itna hum to baat hi kar rahe hain na. So anger normally is talking about what you are hurt about, what is the pain underlying it, or what is it that is not happening your way, or what is the area where you lack control. I think if they work on those areas, it will be better. Also, as you were talking about this thing of body image issues, again, the anger also stems a little from the rejection that happens. Often I ask students, kya ye batao, how many of you want to be cool dudes? How many want to live a life bindas, jisko channi farak nahi padta ki koi kya keh raha hai, kya nahi keh raha hai. Very confident, very smart, like a leader, someone, like a lion walking on the road types. Most of them will raise their hands up. I said, what, how does it come? There is only one simple rule, that you have a clear thought of what you want in life, you take your actions or decisions, and third, you're not affected by what the other people say. So your sense of validation comes from you. So if I'm having a vada pav and my friends, and I'm on a diet and my friends are teasing ki yaar ye to bada natak karta hai, vada pav khane wala hai, so I'll say हाँ यार थोड़ा थोड़ा नाटक हो ही जाता है. Or I will not even, I'll change the topic, I'll just let it go. I don't always have to react and seep in whatever walks into here. I need to use my filter. I can even tell them, हाँ खा लो वड़े पाव, अभी खुद ही वड़े पाव बन जाओगे, फिर बताना, फिर जलोगे तो मेरी फिक्र से. You also can come up with a very tweaky statement across instead of feeling low if you're clear of what you're doing and you take the ownership for it. This is how I like to put it, sir.
Fine. Now, I'll just come to you. We were speaking about drugs and substance abuse. Now, many late night parties are fertile home grounds for both drugs and alcohol. Now, can you suggest some steps that both youngsters and parents should take in this regard?
You're asking whom?
Yes, you. Yes, Dr.
Step 1. यार बच्चे तो शाम में पार्टी करेंगे और ये उनका कल्चर चल रहा है, आप पूरी चीजें बंद नहीं कर सकते हो. क्या कर सकते हो? स्टेप 1, कीप एन आई ऑन द फ्रेंड्स, इनवाइट द फ्रेंड्स टू योर होम्स, ताकि पता लग जाए कौन कितने पानी में है, और पता लग जाता है कितने लोग ड्रग्स कर रहे हैं, कितने नहीं कर रहे हैं. स्टेप 2, बच्चे को हर पार्टी से मना नहीं कर सकते, बट यू कैन ऑलवेज हैव अ लिमिट कि इतने बजे वापस आना है या छोड़ने हम चले जाएंगे. आई विल नॉट इवन एंटर योर पार्टी ताकि बच्चे तुम्हारा मजाक न उड़ाए. वी विल नॉट इवन लेट देम नो, but I'm going to come and pick you back. So when you know that the parent is going to come and pick you back, even if they've taken something, they know they are in moderation. नहीं तो पड़ जाएंगे अच्छे खासे हमको, right? Secondly, you can again tell these children, देख बेटा tempting हो सकता है, तेरे साथ के friends भी बोलें कि यार ठीक है यार एक ले लेते हैं, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, it's school thing, blah blah blah. But remember, whatever you're doing, there are no free lunches in the world. Every choice comes with a consequence. This is the trap that you're setting into it. Are you responsible enough to handle it? So you'll have to keep an eye, talk to them, and keep these checks. And no night outs without knowing who they are. And you'll have to also keep a contact with those children's parents to understand the backgrounds that they come from. उससे भी आइडिया लगता है सर. पर हर पार्टी मना नहीं कर पाओगे तब भी जब आपको पता है कि सामने वाला बच्चा बहुत बढ़िया नहीं है जिसके यहाँ जा रहा है.
Now, quite valid points that you raised, because these are all major concerns happening in major cities also. And I think, as you said rightly, some of the solutions that you come and pick them up and that might solve the problem. Now, another issue is about suicides. Now, we generally hear about student suicides, and there is an increase, and why they commit suicide. But the broad framing of suicides of young people as student suicide probably obfuscates the multidimensional nature of one's identity, say experts. Student suicides emerge from many factors that are related to interpersonal relationship, which probably you also referred earlier, both romantic and at home, and peer pressures. Exams may be the last straw, but it is a gradual build-up. What's your comment?
I think these are factors, but agar hum soul ki baat kare, that again, as I said, comes from the sense of self that they carry. A lot of the adolescents find it difficult to take failure. और जो definition है ना success and failure की, वो बड़ी deviant है. वहाँ problem होती है. We want a lot of appreciation, but we forget कि यार बंदा वही लंबी रेस का घोड़ा होता है जो कई बार गिरता है, कई बार रुकता है. It is not the people, I mean, the most successful people are not the ones who never failed. In fact, they are the ones who failed the most. The only difference is they continued to work. वहाँ प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है. एंड एज आई सेड कि सब कुछ एक्सटर्नल हो रहा है. भाई मेरा तो एक लैक ऑफ पर्पस है. अगर आप बच्चों से पूछो यार तुमको करना क्या है, why are you there in this world? I think that's a question even adults struggle with. But if that is very clear in life कि this is what I'm here for, these are my goals at different stages of my life, तो इतनी गड़बड़ नहीं होती है. रिजेक्शन बर्दाश्त ही नहीं होता है. यार तुम कौन से विद ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट शाहरुख खान हो या ऐश्वर्या राय हो कि कोई तुमको पसंद ना करे, उनको भी लोग पसंद नहीं करते हैं. सो दिस इज एब्सोल्युटली नॉर्मल. सो आई थिंक द काइंड ऑफ इरेशनल बिलीफ्स दैट वी कैरी, that I need to be accepted and appreciated by all at every level, I need to keep everybody happy because my sense of worth comes from there, is something one needs to work on it. And suicide is never a solution. It's an escape. I mean, they are not even addressing their issues at that point. बात ही नहीं करते. तुम बात तो करो. I think if there is communication around those and the sense of self is worked upon, I don't think the idea for committing suicide going to be very popular. एक और चीज होती है deliberate self harm. बच्चे use भी करते हैं to get their things done. It's such a common thing. आप मुझे जाने दे रहे हो कि नहीं तो मैं आज आपको मेरी लाश मिलेगी. Or if you do like this, I am thinking of committing suicide, and the parents really get very, very exhausted and they give in to their demands. तो दोनों चीजें हैं.
Yeah. No, my point was that whenever we hear student suicide, the general thought is it is because of exam failure or due to stress in this. But this particular study proved it is not that way. It is absolutely pretty last. That's actually because of relationship. It's as they say in the study, it's just a last straw. That's all.
Agree.
I'll come back to you, Ms. Nasneen. It is said that bulimia usually begins in adolescence or young adulthood and is more likely to affect girls than boys. Children and teenagers with bulimia are usually of normal low body weight. They often take steps to hide their disorder by binging and purging in secret. What are the signs and symptoms of bulimia?
So some of the things you will realize is that, this adolescent is actually really trying to curb his appetite. Okay, when his social behavior with friends and family is very awkward. And slowly, if you start looking at the clinical signs and symptoms, he will start, because here he is eating at one go, he's eating a large bulk, then he's feeling extremely guilty and he's going and purging out all this food. Because of it, the acidity factor is very, very high. You'll see their teeth is completely discolored. You will also see them having frequent headaches because the fasting periods in between are very, very high. And also that they are extremely irritated all day long. So these are some of the, first signs to even recognize that, friends will always complain he's just picking up a fight at every drop of a hat. Parents are complaining that, he's not normal. And most of these eating behaviors happen when people are not around. So he's actually eating in bulk when he is alone. So that's a scary thing to figure out what is that access of food, from where is he getting, and what is the time he's actually purging. And somebody needs to look and care for him when he's purging out all of these things.
Does bulimia affect puberty?
It does. It does, because you've completely kind of ruined up your entire calcium metabolism, your iron metabolism, your bone formation, which was very, very vital, has now, you're like started a very early osteoarthritic journey because you're not really eating enough. And also the body actually then starts looking convex, so it's very, very weird, because even the person is no longer better shaped. They're actually looking very sick, and the bones start protruding out, the eyes start sinking in, and overall it affects further body image as well. So yeah, and bones are completely ruined.
You spoke about body image. Now, how can youngsters face body shaming?
A lot of work. I think one, that they should definitely see a professional nutritionist, professional mental health coach. Two is, we need to create an environment where parents also start looking at creating positivity around foods. Friends can be, counseled on, okay, help the person to come out of this, and let's make a positive, relationship with food, because food is either is then treated as not such a good thing and something which is helping him put on too much weight. And also, introducing exercise, especially a sport, has helped. I've had one footballer who is actually, she's taken up onto football, and that has helped her to transform her entire life, because channelizing all this extra activity into a sport, then she felt hungry, she started eating into smaller meals, getting into this pattern, seeing other girls eating. So I think sport can be a very, very good channelizer for the same as well.
Well, I'll come back to you. Dr. Gagandeep, the major problem is that when children move from smaller cities to metros, that can be a very tough process for students struggling with language and not fitting with their peers. How can this be resolved? Because more and more people from the villages and small towns have this aspiration of coming and studying in cities. But when they come to the city, they have a major issue of trying to gel with the population there. So what are the issues, concerns that can be addressed?
One, there's a major culture shock that they have. Second, they feel that these guys or the girls who are, the Delhiites or the so-called the urban people, they're more smarter because wo faratedar angrezi marte hain, the kind of clothes that they wear, the snobbish attitude sometimes that they show, which tries to say, oh, we are so cool, we don't care around. And a lot of these people, since are coming from their hometowns, they are yearning to have friends around, and to gain that friend circle, they get into that pressure. Ya to wo un, snobbish logon ki pooch ban jate hain, ya unke victims ho jate hain when they are bullied at. And a lot of times they tend to question their own values, which in sometimes are way better than what the so-called modernites carry. Another thing that happens is they believe कि this is a statement of success, because they believe कि अगर आपको jobs मानिए, आपको यहाँ पर survive करना है, तो you will have to talk, walk, act the way they do, and then the blind copying happens, which makes them more conflicted, because that's not what they have grown up with, or that's not what they internally believe in. वो conflict पैदा हो जाता है. अब वो conflict को कैसे resolve करें? फिर तो वही पार्टी शाटी होगी, फिर जैसे बाकी लोग कर रहे हैं, they simply blindly copy. I think that's, so how do we deal with that? I think one, सबसे पहले तो समझो कि यार ये मानकर चलो, जब आप एक किसी दूसरे शहर जा रहे हो, लोग आपसे अलग होंगे, एंड अगर आपको एक लीडर होना है, आपको सब में स्टैंड आउट करना है, तो आपको अपनी अपनी पहचान बनानी होगी. अगर आप लोगों को कॉपी करेंगे तो आप अपनी पहचान खो देंगे. सेकंड, डोंट गेट इनटू द रेस ऑफ बीइंग द मोस्ट पॉपुलर बॉय और अ गर्ल कि सारे ही मेरे दोस्त हों. यार कितने चाहिए, एक दो मिल जाए ढंग के बहुत हैं. वो जो रैट रेस होती है ना कि यार उसकी कितनी फैन फॉलोइंग है, मेरी भी होनी कर देती है. Third, so always choose over the quality over quantity. Fourth, never forget that you came here for a purpose. तो आपका larger goal क्या है? और अगर इतने confused हो रहे हो, every campus has a counselor, has some people you can talk to, और आपके जैसे आपके seniors, juniors कोई ना कोई जरूर होंगे उस पूरे campus में. उनसे पूछो यार उनके क्या issues थे, उनकी क्या struggles थी. Listen more, absorb from there, and find your smarter ways. Also developing some solitary hobbies, or exposing some talent that you have. Maybe you are a good singer, maybe you're a good dancer, or any quality that you have or a skill can also make you popular in your own way. So try and sharpen that rather than focusing only on the areas where you feel that you're deficient compared to the others. And certainly believe in yourself. That is the most important thing.
Yeah, we are actually running short of time. So I will just wind up this session with one question to both of you. And summing up exactly what you said, what would be the message that you want to convey to the adolescent population, starting with you, Dr. Kaur, and then Ms. Nazneen?
I think my suggestion would be जो आपकी organization का tagline है, honor, hope, and happiness. So when you're working with adolescents, honor them, their views, their feelings, whatever they are going through. Don't discount them कि तुम stupid हो, तुम लोग ऐसे ही feel करते हो. Don't do that. Honor what they're having so that there is some acceptance and communication that happens. Second, instill hope. We know that there is a lot of deviance happening, but say that I, as a parent or as a teacher, really know that you have that potential to be that nuclear reactor and not a nuclear bomb. And I carry a lot of hope because you guys are more smarter than I ever was. Thirdly, create more happy moments. Sometimes dancing on their stupid numbers, which make no sense to us at least, but or even teasing around, creating more happy moments, learning from them. And they are certainly more smarter in certain areas that we believe we are not, can also have a bond of a two-way bond. So again, the honor, hope, and happiness would be the mantra to help them grow into better individuals.
Excellent. Well put, I think, Gagandeep. And what about you, Ms. Nazneen?
I would just say first, believe in yourself. I think that is a very important thing, that I am unique and I'm not a copy of anyone. And also create a positive environment at home. Also, looking at a better bond between parents and, teenagers is a very important thing. So I think that's constant work in, it's a journey that each day you are looking at it. So I think these are two things which are very important. The rest takes care of itself,
Fine. I think this was an excellent session, wonderfully put. Actually speaking of adolescence, it needs much more time because each issue by itself is a huge thing to be analyzed, discussed, a solution found. Because when you deal with nuclear situation, it is either you go to make a bomb or you create a reactor. And so how you make this particular generation more creative, believe in themselves, we are the hopes of tomorrow. How to do this actually needs much more bigger discussion. But what we had today was, in a nutshell, an excellent overview of the problems that adolescents face. Thank you very much for your inputs. It was an excellent session. Thank you very much, and namaskar. And we will meet again next time for another exciting topic.